I absolutely love growing a variety of herbs here in my small space container garden. In fact, as a new gardener, that's what I started with was a few herb containers. I found that they were really easy to grow and just so versatile to use in the kitchen. I could harvest them almost every day and find a way to use them. I realized a few years in that there was a certain way of harvesting, especially particular types of herbs, that would make it so that they would grow even healthier and bigger throughout the rest of that growing season. And so I'm going to share with you how you can harvest different types of herbs to make sure that you're really maximizing the amount of herbs that you're growing in your garden.
So if we look at this Italian oregano, you can see that this one stem is growing pretty tall. Now, if I were to leave this be, it would just continue to grow vertically, which wouldn't necessarily be a problem, but there's a way that I could harvest this so that this one branch becomes two branches and possibly even more if you continue doing it the right way. So if we look closely, you can see that at each set of leaves, there's new little leaves forming there. And so when I go to harvest oregano, I'm going to clip it at those leaf nodes. And what that's going to do is the plant is then going to put its energy into these new leaves, and these are going to branch out, forming two new branches. And you can continue doing that and creating kind of a system of branching stems, and that's going to make the plant a lot bushier. It's going to make it have even more plant growth on it, and it's just going to be a healthier plant. And so you want to wait until you have about 3 or 4 leaf sets on a stem before you do this. So you don't want to do it right at the base. For this stem, as an example, I'm probably going to go in and clip down here when I go to harvest it. I'll clip it there, and then those two little leaf nodes will become new branches. Here you can see where I've done this previously. So you can see the little stem there. That was originally a taller stem that I harvested, and it formed these two new branching stems. Other herbs that you want to harvest in this way are going to be rosemary. Again, on this one, you can see where I harvested right there, and then it created these two new branches. Rosemary grows relatively slow for me, and so being able to harvest it in a way that produces more branches really helps me make the most of this herb in my garden. Mint is another one that you can harvest and create more branches from it. I haven't harvested much from my mint yet this year, but you can see here there is one spot where I harvested this stem. It was growing pretty tall, and then these two new branches are starting to form on the side of it. Basil is another plant that you want to harvest in this way. It's mid-May, so I actually just bought my basil seedlings. I have not planted them yet, but just to show you, even on these smaller young seedlings, you can see where they're starting to create new sets of leaf nodes there at the leaf sets. But again, you want to wait until the plant has about 3 or 4 sets of leaves on the stem until you harvest it in this way. So these would be too small. I would let them grow a little bigger once I plant them to be able to do that. This is for all types of basil. So I have some Thai basil here, and same thing. And you can really see on this one where it's creating those new sets of leaf nodes. So when I harvest, again, you're going to want to wait till you have 3 or 4 sets of leaves, but you will harvest there at that leaf node, and those will turn into new stems. So those are the main herbs that I harvest in this way to create more stems. There are others. The telltale sign is if you see those new leaf nodes forming at the leaf sets, that means that that's going to be an herb where you can harvest it in that way to create more branches. Now, the other way of harvesting herbs is going to be with plants like dill. So with dill, you can see that all of the branches come out from the center. So it's creating new branches in that way. And so when I go to harvest dill, you want to harvest the largest branches first. So these are going to be the ones that are usually the tallest, the most mature, but you're going to harvest these just at the base. You can see a little bit where I've done that on this plant. And you're just going to harvest those outermost, largest stems first. And what that's going to do is the more that you harvest, it actually prompts the plant to continue to grow even more. And so you can see here on this dill, this little tiny new stem is forming down here. So they're all growing out at the base. The more you harvest and the more that you harvest those mature, larger stems, the more this plant is going to continue to grow. Cilantro is another herb that grows in this way. My seedlings are too small for me to show you that, but that is another one that grows all from the base, and you just want to harvest the largest stems one at a time. Parsley is also like this, so you can again see at the base there we have new little stems forming, and so when I go to harvest this plant, I'm going to be harvesting the outermost thickest stems first. So probably do this guy next. And just I go through each of my parsley plants and harvest them like that. So I don't harvest just from one plant. When I'm ready to need some harvest in the kitchen, I'll go through all of my plants. I have several of them and just snip off those individual largest stems. Chives are another one where they all grow from the base. And so you're just going to bunch it up and harvest as much as you need at a time. Again, the more that you harvest these plants, the more they're going to be prompted to continue to grow. I don't use too much sage in the kitchen, and so I don't harvest it a lot. I don't know of any tricks necessarily with harvesting this one. My best practice is I just harvest the largest leaves towards the base of the plant first, and then as it's growing, I just kind of work my way up and continue to harvest that way. Thyme has always grown really well for me, and so I haven't really needed to find a way to harvest it to make it grow even more. And so with this, I just harvest it at the base. I usually go for whatever the longest stem is and just clip it there at the base.
I hope you found that information helpful. And if you're growing herbs this year, I hope you have a great season. Like I said, they're one of my favorite things to grow, and I just find a way to use them almost every day.